It's okay. I think his name is Roger.
Days, no matter what, money is
The one here on A1A, the one on ISP, Tobacco Exotic, yeah. Madison with the glasses. The other one. Yes. Yeah. Mel, Richard.
How are you? How are you? Mickey, how are you? I've been looking for you on the beach.
No worries, thank you.
If I go first, I'll do it. But okay. Do you want to do it or not?
Yeah, been having to pull around.
Okay, good. Okay, good. I'm going to do it. I just thought I was going to say.
They've all done it. Even Reagan's done it, Obama. Invariably, you make a comment that you don't expect the public to hear. Mind you, it wasn't all that significant.
I just said that. Yeah, but I didn't know whether it was.
It's not residential.
Yeah, when you're mic'd up, it's hard not to do.
Yeah, I'm fine. Oh, yeah.
I know.
Okay. Okay, hey, that's good. Okay. Yeah, right, exactly, because I was going to just how lucky you were. So anyway, she goes,
Always.
Last year better than the year before.
Every year is another.
Yes.
And it's like,
And it's a little bit bigger than the short story, but it's a nice cigar.
so I got to go. So,
speaking of all that, chatter. Oh, yeah.
The population is.
In Naples,
it's like, oh my God.
it's not as
Mike's on.
That's why I put my finger on it. Now it's off.
I've been there, done that before.
I have a lot of things I say. But no,
Classic. You had to be there.
that's cute.
The new attorney, city.
You know, it's almost analogous when people get pulled over in the shores and they go ski and they go, "Are you friends? What's his real name?" And then they go, "Ski," and they go, "Okay, here's your ticket or here's your arrest."
Priceless.
But I bought the rest of those bestsellers, the Shaquille from the last 3 weeks. Is Rick, you know, Kells is giving us the. He doesn't count. I don't want to make him. Where is his money?
Sherry, we're missing a microphone.
Oh, there it is, right here. It fell down.
Oh, yeah.
We found it. Okay, I'm looking out for you.
You have that turned off, Richard? Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Daytona Beach Shores, January 25th City Council. Welcome to everyone that's here. We have quite a crowd tonight, and then welcome to everybody online. Sherry, can you take the roll, please?
Mayor Miller,
Here.
Vice Mayor Lindauer,
Here.
Councilmember Bryan,
Here.
Councilmember Frislow,
Here.
Councilmember Place.
Here.
Thank you, Sherry. Okay, tonight we have Reverend Melissa. Thank you so much for being here this evening. Melissa only likes sun, so we're very, very happy that we got her out in this weather. And I thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Will you pray with me? God of justice and mercy, thank you for the gift of life and for the opportunity to serve the people of our city. Help us to act with character and conviction. Help us to listen with understanding and goodwill, and help us to speak with clarity and restraint. Thank you for giving us a spirit of service, and remind us that we are stewards of your authority. Guide us to be the leaders your people need. Help us to see the humanity and dignity of those who disagree with us, and to treat all persons with the reverence your creation deserves. Renew us with the strength of your presence and the joy of helping to build a community where life truly is better for everyone. We ask this as your sons and daughters, confident in your goodness and love. Amen.
Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, this evening, we do not have any presentations or public notices, so we are going to go right into the approval of minutes from our last city council meeting, which was January 11th, 2022. Do I hear a motion to accept those minutes as is?
I move we approve the minutes.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there any discussion on those minutes? Okay, if not, Sherry, can you take a roll for us?
Yes, ma'am. Vice Mayor Lindauer,
Yes.
Councilmember Frislow,
Yes.
Councilmember Flores,
Yes.
Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryan.
Yes.
Okay, next we'll move on to our consent agenda items, and we have 5 items on there this evening. If we do not need any of those agendas items pulled, can I please have a motion to accept those?
Motion to accept.
I'll second.
Oh, go ahead, Michael.
Any discussion on any of those consent items? Okay, if not, Sherry, can you take a roll on that, please?
Councilmember Frislow,
Yes.
Councilmember Flores,
Yes.
Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryan.
Yes.
Thank you. And Sherry did inform me that her computer's running a little bit slow, so I'm going to look at
It hasn't moved.
Okay. All right, so we'll work with her to see where we're at. So next, we are going to go to the report of the city attorney. Attorney Voss, what do you have for us this evening?
Yes, we have made changes to the Public Safety Education Reimbursement Agreement, and that was requested by the Public Safety Department. We drafted the letter of intent for the purchase of the property behind Chase Bank Building, and then we worked with the finance director to revise the letter of intent to explain the reason for the offer price. And we prepared the remaining closing documents for the closing of the sale at 136 Beach Commerce. And we have tentatively set a closing date of January 27th, 2022, but it may slip till the following week. I'm not sure. And we worked on final negotiations and the development agreement for the Treasure Island for consideration at a February 1st, 2021 or 2022 special meeting.
We'll talk about that a little bit more, but the reason, and when it comes to the agenda, the reason for that was that some of the notices that are required to be posted, not through any fault of the city or through Acres, were not posted on time, and that's the reason for the delay. Is that correct?
That's correct. The newspaper failed.
I wasn't going to call them.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure they knew it wasn't the city or Acres, but thank you. All right. Does anyone have any questions for our attorney?
Yeah, I do. Any feedback from Chase Bank?
Next, we'll hear your
I didn't get any feedback.
assistant manager.
Yes, I emailed back and forth with the attorney that's handling that for Chase. I wanted to confirm receipt of it on their behalf, and they have received it, and he's working with Chase for their review, and I'm hoping shortly to hear something positive or negative, either way.
At least he didn't
Something.
reject, at least he didn't reject it right up front,
Yes.
so, right, exactly, okay.
Exactly.
Good.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, if not, we're going to move on to our city manager report. City Manager Booker, what do you have for us?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 136 Beachcomber, at the time of the writing of this report, we were going to closing on January 21st on 136 Beachcomber, which was the shopping center that the city owned. I understand that went through and everything is fine. I want to thank all the council members and the mayor for all their help in getting this thing through. Peck Park, we had a meeting today at Peck Park regarding DOT and the crosswalk there. They have not as yet installed the playground equipment, and I think to do so before the end of January would be at lightning speed. They have started the playground equipment at Gallia Park, So I would assume that Peck will be shortly there behind, so maybe early November we can have that park open and ready to go. Opioid Abatement Funding Advisory Board. The county is looking to establish an advisory board to look at ways in which funds from the opioid settlement will be allocated. And each local government would receive one appointee to the board. And my understanding, Madam Mayor, and you've had some discussions about this maybe more than I have, they don't really want a staff member, they want somebody that's out of the community that has that is in touch with some of the groups that may want to receive something. Is that correct?
That is correct, and we did get one person that was very interested, that is an upstanding citizen of this community. So what we'll do is, I had reached out to the attorney from the county. They're looking at like an April or May timeframe. So one of the meetings coming up, if this is the only person that volunteers, we would be thrilled and honored to have him. If there's anyone else that also turns their name in, we'll talk about it at that time. So yes, they do want a citizen.
Good. I think that's an excellent idea. I did add one thing on because it came to me after the printing of the agenda. I received a report from Cindy Lean, our PIO. I had asked her if I could have some information on logistics of how we're doing with our webpage and some of the outreach that we're doing online. And interestingly enough, on the city page, we have netted 102 new followers since October 1.
Great.
Our reach and engagement were both up compared to the previous quarter, with our engagement, likes, comments, and shares up 540%. Now, 540% sounds like a lot, but we had a long way to go. We had a small number to begin with. But of those followers, 70.8% are women and 29.2% are men. So I guess more women like to follow the city page than men.
Maybe we have more women.
It's all these good-looking guys we got on city council. On the community page, we've netted 108 followers since October 1. That's an 800% growth compared to the previous quarter. Reach and engagement were also up, with engagement up 1,887%. We have a following of 795 people. Again, 75.7% women and 24.3% men. So I think that probably is very telling. I think we can make even more headway, and I think we're doing great as far as public safety goes. Our webpage obviously is the most popular, always was, and probably always will be.
We just love that public safety.
We do.
Cindy, thank you very much for all that you've done to put us on the social media map.
It really has. It's been an uphill climb, and she really started with not much at all, and has developed that into quite a good program. Thank you.
Hey, Mike, I had a question, and I know you met with DOT today. Have they identified where they're going to put that crosswalk in front of Peck, and is there anything else that needs to be done?
They're going to put it, Madam Mayor, on the north portion of that property. Almost the northernmost part of the lot where the parking lot is going.
Is that right by the Hyatt?
It's right by the Hyatt, right between the Hyatt and their property. And they probably will do like a push button guided type crossing because they want it well lit. But they suggested some things with the 40-foot high lights, and the curl season they're going to be off anyway. So you're almost going to have to do a lit push button type crosswalk with some self-contained almost lighting. I think they have some. They used to do the crosswalks and then do the lights. Now they make you do the lights along with the crosswalk, and we don't want to have any expense with that.
Right.
It's all going to be on the county or the state, and I think we're going to continue that of not wanting them to. We don't want to contribute if we don't have to.
Yeah, we don't want to go backwards, and I know the park will add a lot to Daytona Beach shores, but, before I came here, I understand the background in that. So, that was something they wanted, so I just feel like the county can pay for everything.
But I do want to say that the parking lot looked good today. They've only got the playground equipment left. I talked to our folks here, and they said the restrooms and everything that they put in so far, the amenities is very good.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I misunderstood you on Delia. What was the opening date, do you think?
Dahlia, I think, should be done by the end of the month. I don't know if they want to do a joint opening with both parks at the same time, or if they want to do Dahlia and then do Peck.
Okay. And Dahlia will be smaller than Peck, is that correct?
Dahlia's about a quarter the size of Peck.
And can you give us an update one more time? I know you've talked over this, but I just want to refresh everyone's memory now that we're talking about the parks. Through your negotiation with the county manager, we will be maintaining those parks, but we will not be doing it free of charge like we did before. Can you go over that one more time?
That is correct. The county will maintain all the parks that are within our jurisdiction, that are part of Volusia County. And in exchange for that, we will receive $100,000 a year to offset that cost.
Is that 100,000 more than we were getting before?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Does anyone have any other questions for our city manager? Okay, if no other questions, let's move on to old business. And I'm going to get it right this time. City planner. Cruz, can you come up? And Attorney Voss, can you read ordinance 2022-02 for us, please?
Yes, this is ordinance number 2022-02, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, relating to voluntary annexation of real property located at 3102 Liberty Street, short parcel identification number 5340-0208-0010, together with associated rights-of-way, in accordance with section 171.044 Florida statutes, providing for legislative and administrative findings, redefining the boundaries of the city, providing for a legal effect in implementing administrative actions, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and setting an effective date.
Thank you, Attorney. So, Stuart, this is just, again, a formality. We talked about it last time, that we did it under new business. It's now has to be read twice. Do you know if the residents from 3102 Liberty Street are here this evening?
They're not, but they are streaming live. They're in New Jersey.
Okay, and the last name is?
Their last name is Pollack. Please.
And I'm sorry, I can look in here. So, Mr. and Mrs. Pollack, we value you as a resident to the shores. We are extremely happy to have you here. Thank you. Do I hear a motion to accept ordinance 2022-02?
I move we accept 2022-02.
Second?
Second, do we have any discussion on that? Not, Sherry, can you take the roll on that, please?
Could you ask for public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, this is open for public comment. Does anyone have a comment on this? Anything they want to say? Not, now Sherry, you can take the roll.
Councilmember Bryan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Yes.
Councilmember Politis?
Yes.
Councilmember Frislow?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. Okay, now can you please read for us 2022-03?
Yes, this is ordinance number 2022-03, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, relating to voluntary annexation of real property located at 6 Carter Terrace, short parcel identification number 5340-0002-0190, together with associated rights of way in accordance with section 171.044 Florida statutes, providing for legislative and administrative findings, redefining the boundaries of the city, providing for legal effect in implementing administrative actions, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and setting an effective date.
Thank you, Attorney Voss. Before we go on to Stuart, this is also public participation. Does anyone in the audience have anything they want to add for 6 Carter Terrace annexation? If not, and Stuart, what is the name for 6 Carter Terrace?
Caldwell's.
Okay. Are they online?
Audience, I'm not 100% positive.
Okay. All right. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Caldwell's, if you're online, again, we welcome you to the shores. We are glad to have you as one of our residents. And do I hear a motion to accept?
I move we approve 2022.
Second?
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, Sherry, can you take a roll on that, please?
Councilmember Bryan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Yes.
Councilmember Politis?
Yes.
Councilmember Frislow?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. Sherry, are we moving too fast or are we all right?
I'm okay right now.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, next we're going to go on to ordinance 2022-04. Attorney Voss, can you read that for us, please?
Yes, this is ordinance number 2022-04, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Florida, relating to approval of a development agreement pertaining to properties owned by 2025 South Atlantic Avenue LLC in accordance with the provisions of the Florida Local Government Development Agreement Act as set forth in sections 163.3220 through 163.3243 Florida statutes, providing for implementing administrative actions, providing for compliance, providing for a savings provision in the effect of the ordinance, providing for severability, providing for codification as well as the correction of scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. All right, as we had stated previously, we were hoping to have the second reading on this ordinance today. Unfortunately, this has to be noticed, and it was not noticed in the News Journal as we had hoped. So consequently, I'm going to ask for a motion to continue this to February 1st at 4 o'clock p.m.
Motion to go to February 21st at 4 p.m.
Okay, I think we have a motion from Councilman Frizzalone and a second from Councilman Bryan.
Fine.
Okay, thank you. So can you take a roll on this, please?
Councilmember Frizzle?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryan?
Yes.
Councilmember Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you.
Vice Mayor Lindo?
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we're going on to new business. So those of you that were here last meeting, or if you were online, our city manager, Mike Booker, did announce his retirement effective July 8th. He had 22 years with this city that moved it to where it is today, and we greatly appreciate everything he did. But now what we need to do is we need a new city manager. So I just want to go over the process that is normally taken when you are replacing your city manager. So the first thing is we would promote from within. The second thing is we could go to an outside recruiting firm like several cities in the area did. The cost is $20,000 plus. The third thing we could do is we could have that done internally, but that puts so much on the staff. They would have to do the interviewing, the recruiting, the posting. So what I wanted to do was look up what are some of the characteristics that we're looking for in a city manager. So when I looked at that, I looked at the skills that are needed. Leadership skills, leading by example, integrity, delegating, financial, diplomacy, time management, problem solving, mentorship. So with that in mind, if we were a city that had a lot of infrastructure issues, we might want to look at someone that has that background. Right now, the biggest issue that I see that we would have in the Shores is our city manager, Booker, has built up a wonderful, wonderful team of senior management and his directors. I congratulate you on doing that. It makes the city run so effectively, and I appreciate that. So what I'm looking for is someone with leadership skills that can continue that. So right now, I'm in the office, pretty much probably 90% of my time, and I see our assistant city manager, Kurt Swartzlander, filling in those shoes. Unfortunately, we've had, our city manager has had some health issues that our assistant city manager has had to step up to the plate quite frequently. He does it without complaint. It's just a very smooth transaction. Also, as we've announced before, we have about 3 or 4 key players that are going to be retiring within the next 6 months. So we need a cohesive team. What was always important to me when I first came here too was talking about a succession plan. Where I came from before, you always wanted to know if something happened, who do we have to fill those shoes? Because Kurt knows each of the employees so well, and he knows their strengths and some of the things that they need to work on, I feel like he would be an excellent candidate to immediately step in upon the retirement of our city manager. But I want to make sure that I have everyone on the dais as their opinion.
I'd like to comment.
Sure.
I think that when you are looking to hire a new city manager, you have to not only think about the city manager, but the team. And given the fact that our city manager currently, Mike's done such a phenomenal job grooming this team, thank you, Lori, I appreciate that, thank you. I really feel strongly that in order to keep the team in place, Kurt is the right person for the job. He has got high integrity, high character. He works very, very hard and diligent, and there is no question that he would be able to carry the torch forward and continue to have the Daytona Beach residents as proud of him as they have been of City Manager Booker, who's done an absolutely exemplary job leading the city and also hiring the right people to be able to move upward and onward. So I really cast a very, very strong vote for Kurt and all that he's done for the city.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Politis?
You know, to echo Councilman Frizzalone's opinions, you know, we are a cozy community. Everyone is very interactive. We don't do memos and emails and then we wait to hear from the higher ups. We just get out of our office, walk down the hall and say, you know, what do you think about this, Fred? What do you think about this, Captain Fowler? You know, it's all about personality and relationships. I find it very difficult that we would find someone that would mesh with all the senior officials we have, like Kurt has. And it's almost like a relay, a race where someone hands the baton to the person that's already running, getting ready to be handed the baton, and that's what's going on between Mike and Kurt. And so I have a strong opinion about us giving Kurt Schwartzlander the opportunity to become our next city manager.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
I've always been a strong proponent of promotions from within when you have qualified people. One of Mike Booker's really great accomplishments is building a deep bench, and we have a really deep bench here. I really admire the way Kurt has stepped up and done both the assistant manager's job as well as his finance director's job. He's a team player. I've never heard anybody say a bad word about Kurt, and I echo the thoughts of both Councilman Politis and Councilman Frizzalone in that strongly endorsing and voting to appoint Kurt our new city manager.
Councilman Bryan?
You really didn't leave me anything to say.
You always have something
I
to
think
say.
Kurt will do a good job. I won't take up your time repeating all the stuff that was said.
Okay, great. Okay, with that in mind, then do I hear, Councilman Bryan, I'm going to allow you to do this then, since I cut a motion to, is this how we do it? A motion to appoint Kurt Schwartzlander as our next city manager upon the retirement of our city manager, Booker?
So moved.
I second it.
Any other discussion? I'll take a vote in a minute. So is the next step that you, as you're representing our city, you and Kurt negotiate the pay? I'm talking, okay, all right. That's what
Agreement.
All right, and then what happens is you bring that back to us in a future meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great, thank you. All right. Sherry, can you take a roll on that, please?
Yes, ma'am. Councilman Bryan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Yes.
Councilman Politis?
Yes.
Councilman Frizzlo?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, absolutely, yes. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity. And I really feel like what Councilmember Politis said about it being a baton handoff. I ran track back in high school, and really that is a great analogy because not only Mr. Booker, but the other staff, and we know certain other members are retiring soon as well. So I've got big shoes to fill, and some of their replacements will have big shoes to fill as well. But I think we have a great staff, and I look forward to just continuing the great work from the last 22 years and just improving the city in any way we can. So I thank you for the opportunity and the kind words. Thank you.
Stuart, was that a retirement announcement? Was that a retirement announcement?
Did he say city manager?
No, he said Stuart retiring, so.
No.
Fred, right?
Just to go over some of the retirements we're going to see in the near future is Fred Hyatt, how long, 35 years?
May 15th. will be
Okay, 35 years, and, he will be retiring. Supervisor by Public Works, Brian, will be retiring,
2 days.
Oh, 2 days, okay. So we have some movement going on, and we want to make sure, as we talked about, that it's a smooth transition. I'm thinking one of these days, our wonderful Chief Dubinsky will be announcing his retirement. So, things that we just have to make sure that we don't skip a beat and we put those wonderful people back in place. So thank you, everyone. Okay, next we're going to move on to ordinance 2022-01. Can you read that for us, please?
Yes, this is ordinance number 2022-01, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, assigning the P-Public, quasi-public district zoning classification to property generally located at 3232 La
Paloma.
Okay, Avenue, short parcel, tax parcel ID 5335-0109-0110, providing modification of the official zoning map, providing for implementing administrative actions, providing for non-codification, providing for an effective date.
Thank you. City Planner, do we have anyone here? I would like to hear from somebody representing Westminster. Who do we have here this evening?
Yes, we actually have 2 representatives. We have Attorney Wagner, and we also have Engineer Pete Zahn, both representing the Westminster by the City Presbyterian Church Incorporated.
If you can come up, and before we go on, I want to remind everyone on the dais, when we have a speaker like this, they do not only have their 3 minutes, and we can question and answer them. As a reminder, when we have someone here for audience comments, that's what it is audience comments. It is not a Q&A session. But anyone that would like to ask either of these any questions, feel free to. So if you could come up and introduce yourself again. I don't know if you have a presentation, but I had quite a few questions for you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Councilman. My name is Leanne Wagner. I am here on behalf of Westminster by the Sea and the Presbyterian Counseling Center.
I'm Pete Zahn, Zahn Engineering, 150 South Palmetto, and I've been a member for 30 years, and I don't get to charge them for this, so.
So do you have anything you want to say, or are you ready?
Yes, thank you very much. The property has been owned by the church for a number of years. It was always the intention of the elder who conveyed the property to the church that it would be used potentially in some capacity to provide some kind of outreach services to the community. And as was approved by this city council last year, we have been using the property as a counseling center since last fall. The Presbyterian Counseling Center was incorporated in 1986. It sees approximately 800 clients per month at its various locations. Approximately 25 to 30 visits per week are at the property located at 3232 La Paloma Avenue. The counseling center provides counseling primarily to children and families. That is what is seen at this location, although it does provide services to other individuals at its other locations. Really, this has not changed the character of the neighborhood. The counseling center has very little traffic as far as we're concerned. And as you can see from the materials presented by City Planner Cruz, there is a church immediately adjacent to the property, and there is now, which is not pictured in the photos, a walkway. So we ask clients to park in the church parking lot, walk across that walkway, and get to the counseling center. Again, we provide family and children's counseling. We think it's very, very important for Volusia County, and we're very happy to be able to provide that service.
Thank you. Do you have anything you want to say before we ask
As
questions?
Mr. Bryan said earlier, what can I add to that?
All right, so my questions are, how many centers do you have across Volusia County?
I believe there are 5, and they are all in residential areas.
Okay, all right. And when you say children's and families, so do you do marriage counseling?
One of the therapists is here, and if you don't mind, I'd actually like to call her up. Jackie actually provides services at the center, and she can tell you a bit more about the patients that she sees.
Thank you.
This is Jackie.
Jackie, thank you for being with us this evening. So at this particular location is what we're interested in. Do you do marriage counseling as well, or is it just family counseling with the children involved?
I counsel about 95% families, and I think I see 3 couples for marriage counseling at this time. Usually not more than 2 or 3.
Okay, and the ages of the children on an average that you see at this location are what ages?
School age,
Okay.
5 and up.
5 to what?
Well, through college.
Okay.
As long as they're in school, and then, you know, if they do need assistance when they're adults, I do see students when they're in college as well.
And have you at this location or any other location ever felt threatened by the clients that come in, or have seen any disruptive behavior that makes you afraid?
No, not at all, and I'm very careful. I make sure people park in the parking lot and not on the street, because I am aware it's a narrow street. And if a new client's coming in, I go to the door and make sure they're parked in the parking lot. Everyone has come in peacefully and left peacefully. I'm not aware of any issues, and I've never felt threatened at all.
And I don't know who I want to ask this question to, but when you talk about there's a walkway there, I want to know, is there any type of plant foliage barrier or anything that's there currently, or any plans to put anything there to separate it from any of the existing neighbors? I don't know who can answer that for me.
Jackie, I'm not sure if there's anything currently in the way of foliage, but there has been discussion with Reverend Sumner and I'm sorry that he isn't here tonight, he's actually on a church trip, that we could install some kind of a hedge between the properties to provide a little bit more privacy and a barrier.
Okay, thank you. And what other, I wanted to say too, Sherry, how do I do this, or Attorney Voss? We got a document signed from about 8 neighbors in the area in support of this. Can I enter that into the record?
Yes, it's not very long, so you could read it and officially enter it into the record.
Okay, all right, can I go ahead and do that now?
Now would be the right time.
Sorry. Take one moment, please, in case there's extra quick. So this is additional items, 11B, rezoning WBTS Church. Attaches a letter of support with signatures from some of the neighbors that were presented at the Planning and Zoning Board on January 10th. So this is to the City of Daytona Beach Shores, the Community Service Department. This letter is in regards to 3232 La Palma Avenue, which is operating as a mental health facility next to Westminster by the Sea Presbyterian Church. The residents that live within close proximity have no objection to the business being conducted. We do not feel threatened by any means, or are in agreement that it will be a benefit to our community by helping those in need. There is never any noise associated with the business and minimal activity. I live on the corner of Esmeralda and La Palma Avenue across the street and have never felt threatened or uncomfortable with business operations. The flow of people and traffic that come for service is very minimal and seems to be conducted quietly and in a very professional manner. I have spoken with several of my neighbors, and they agree the business does not interfere with them or their daily lives. I have collected some signatures with some of the neighbors that have no objections to the business. And this is signed by Deborah, I think it's Senek, on Esmeralda, and she has 8 additional signatures. So I'd like to enter this into record if we could. So now, what questions do we have of any of these that are representing the church tonight? Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I'd like to ask a couple of questions. Are you the only one that provides counseling services there?
I'm there 20 to 25 hours a week. There is a male therapist there, but we're very seldom there at the same time. And he probably, I would guess, is maybe there 5 to 7 hours a week at this time.
Do you-
I'm there primarily by myself.
And do you provide services at other locations as well?
No, it's my only location.
The last one is, did you spend time in Boston?
Rhode Island. Born and raised, Providence.
Vice Mayor, what questions do you have?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I think that they responded to your question about disturbances. Apparently there haven't been any, and I would just like to ask the captain, have you had any calls there for any illegal activity or disturbances?
No, I ran a check before the meeting, we haven't had it.
Thank you. No more questions.
Thank you. The gentleman that's there 5 to 7 weeks, does he counsel similar clients to what you do?
He actually, and I didn't say this, I was speaking for myself, he does see preschool age, infancy to preschool age. He works with families to help with the attachment and bonding.
Well, it sounds like a very worthwhile, needed thing to me, but Councilman Frizzle, do you have any questions?
Do you charge for your services?
We do have fees, but we also have a very generous sliding fee scale for folks that can't afford it. We get grants from the United Way and different sources, so we're very generous sliding fee scale and grants.
It sounds like a really wonderful thing.
Councilman Politis?
Ma'am, you're the attorney. I know that the church has owned this since '07, so I presume it's off the payroll or off the tax roll since '07 for the past 15 years.
I believe it is, yes.
Okay, so this is basically just a zoning change. It's just upgraded from residential to the quasi.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And as City Planner Cruz stated in his staff report, it was believed to have been zoned as P many years ago. So this is just correcting that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So do you work off of referrals? I mean, how would someone find out about you?
We do get a lot of referrals from employee assistance programs, all the different insurance companies, sometimes hospitals, if someone ends up, being in the hospital and having a need for counseling. And self-referral, we've been around a long time, so people are aware of the services we provide, so people will call on their own as well.
Thank you. If there's no other questions for any of those, I would like our city planner to come back up and explain that at one time there was, on a third party years ago, a error made. Thank you, ladies, very much. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Tell us one more time how a third party zoned this incorrectly, or can you explain a little bit so we all know it's fully transparent?
Yes, so the property was annexed into the city in 1997, and it was given a zone-in at the time of annexation in 1997. And back then, the city didn't have a lot of technology with regards to maps, zoning maps and whatnot, so we had a third-party contractor in 2003 upgrade our mapping system. And unfortunately, during that time, they inadvertently assigned the wrong color, meaning the wrong zoning classification to this particular property. So that was a zoning map error, but it didn't legally change the zoning from single family to the actual public, quasi-public. And that's the reason why we're here today, because we discovered, thanks to the diligence of a neighbor, in November, that this was actually an error, because we had to go back into the records, we had to do a lot of research, and we realized that it was actually a third party or contractor, GIS contractor, that made the mistake.
And has this appeared before the Planning and Zoning Committee?
It has appeared in front of the Planning and Zoning Board, and the Planning and Zoning Board unanimously recommended approval of this, and staff is recommending approval as well. And I'd like to submit, just for the record, my staff report as well, since this is a quasi-judicial hearing.
Okay, thank you. And right now, we have 2 audience comments that we'd like to hear before we hear on this motion. So first of all, I have Blake. Is it Kenton?
Yep.
Thank you, Blake.
I'm Blake Kenton. I live next door at 3234 La Paloma. Basically, all I want to do is I just want to go over some of the criteria on the applicant's application, some discrepancies that I have. I don't know if you guys have this or not, the application.
Our city planner does, thank you.
Okay. Well, if you go to number 2, it says the proposed zoning will have favorable or unfavorable impact on the economy or the area affected. And the applicant replies, no impact. Use to the church is as an office. Well, we later found out that it is not being used as an office. It's actually being leased out to a third party and being used as a counseling center, and which profits off of patients that either have insurance companies, government loans, cash, whatever that may be. If you go to number 6 on here, it says, the proposed zoning is basically consistent and comprehensive with the land use plan. Will continue as it is for 10 years, an office for the church. Once again, it is not a church. It is a fully functional business, which has been working for 6 months now, without the zoning to be zoned as a business. They also said that they want it to feel like a home for their clients. They don't want it to feel like a church because it makes the clients feel anxious or uneasy or something like that. And basically what I'm saying is they're trying to not make it part of the church. They're trying to make it something different, which it's a home. It's a residential home. It's not part of the church. I mean, spot zoning, they're saying no, it's not applicable to spot zoning, but you know, what constitutes a spot zoning? Spot zoning is a process of singling out a small parcel of property land for the use of the classification totally different from the surrounding areas for the benefit of the owner of such property and to the detriment of others. Well, it's pretty clear. Sounds like spot zoning to me. There's no other properties on Loch Lomond that are not residential properties. But yet you have a 700,000 square foot church with a playground. Sounds great for kids and families. To me, anyways. It just goes on. Basically, are they singling out to the land to make it better for somebody else? To me, it's quite clear cut. It's not an office. It's being used as a business. And I live right next door to it, 10 feet away from it. I mean, would you guys want to live 10 feet away from a counseling center? I mean, I didn't sign up for that whenever I moved here. I'm just speaking from the heart. You know what I mean? Another thing is they were saying that.
If you could finish up that last point.
Yeah, that they operate off of residential pieces of property. I went on their website and printed off, I have it if you want it. I printed off that all of their locations run out of churches. They do not run out of residential pieces of property. And I have that if you would like to see it.
We can enter that into record. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, and next we have, is it Carrie?
Kari.
Kari? Thank you, Kari.
Hi, my name is Kari Kenton. I live at 3234 Loch Lomond, right next door to the counseling center. I am here because I am very concerned about the safety of my children. According to the last meeting, some of the people going to these counseling sessions are mandated by the court system to be there.
Could you speak into the microphone a little more because I'm having a hard time hearing you?
Okay. According to the last meeting, some of the people going to these counseling sessions are mandated by the court system to be there, whether it's parenting classes or counseling. I have inquired if anyone who attends at the counseling center has done heavy drugs, beaten their children, or molested them, and the only answer I received was that no one molested any children. As a mother, how am I supposed to feel comfortable living 10 feet from a counseling center business with questionable people coming and going almost every hour, Monday through Friday from about 9 a.m. and I've seen them there as late as 9 p.m. They've also had group meetings take place with about 10 people at a time. I have a piece of paper for that. When these random people go to their meetings, they can see right into my son's bedroom because it's right next door. It just doesn't seem appropriate being that close to a residential home. According to Chapter 18, that 19 P1 zone dash public use on the Daytona Beach Shores website, Section 18.19.060, it states where a P1 zone abuts a lot, which is zoned residential, there shall be a minimum setback from the common lot line of 50 feet with a minimum of the first 20 feet from the common lot line landscaped. With that being said, the Westminster Church is a 7,062 square foot property with a playground, which is more than enough room for their third-party counseling center. The traffic would then be generated on Peninsula, which is already a busy road, since that is where the church entrance is. Do you guys have any questions for me? No.
All right, now, thank you very much for coming this evening. We appreciate it. So right now, before we vote on this ordinance, I'd like our city planner to come back up again. City planner, so that application that was read, are we all in sync, or what else do you want to add to this?
I don't have much to add, Madam Mayor, council members. The only thing I want to just say is that in my staff report that's in the package that's submitted to the record, there's a thorough analysis consistent with the city's land development regulations for rezoning. And in staff's opinion, the analysis shows that this does not constitute spot zoning and is not of detriment to the neighborhood, and that it is something that we should be proposing for recommendation in the affirmative. That's all I have to say.
All right. Any questions for our city planner?
I have a question. Was her comment about the setback correct?
Thank you for bringing that up. Actually, I believe someone mentioned this at the Planning and Zoning Board meeting, and it is totally incorrect. I'm not sure which website that comes from, but it is from my understanding, it's a county setback. If you look in the Daytona Beach Shores public quiz at public land use regulations, you will see nothing to such.
She submitted the paper.
All right,
It is
Stuart.
incorrect.
Okay,
It is
if you
incorrect.
could do some further checking for us, we'd appreciate it. But any other comments before we vote on the ordinance?
You know, the young couple that's here have legitimate concerns, especially when you have small kids and their safety. I was hoping that maybe voluntarily there'll be a better buffer, you know, a taller fence or some landscaping so there's some security and privacy. Do their very best to try and separate them so that way they feel comfortable. It's a shame. I don't know when they moved in, but I can feel for them. It'll be a tough decision for me, but I heard what you both had to say and then took into account your opinion.
You know, and I also did the same too, but I think, you know, there was a time in my past that, when Ed was set over to Desert Storm, that, you know, it was a hard time for our children, that, you know, counseling was something that would have been very, very beneficial to them. And I would have hoped that nobody would have felt threatened because I was there with my two children, you know, ages 11 and 13, I think, at that time. So, you know, I can understand that, but I don't, you know, that's why I wanted to question, did anything ever happen? You know, are they in your control at all times? And, you know, I feel like talking to the attorney and the counselor that, you know, there's never been an incident. Captain Fowler's all, you know, verified that as well. So, so I'm just saying, are we trying to make a problem when the problem isn't there? So, anyway, Councilman Frizzle, do you have anything?
I agree with what you're saying 100%. I think, you know, especially given the fact that we have COVID and we have all of these things, you know, you have more and more people working from home. So it is not a stretch to see a person or children coming to a home, forget about the church in itself, but just a home, so that would make sense. I would like to see the council, though, and the city planner work to do some kind of buffer for privacy reasons and security reasons. I think that there always has to be a give and take, and there has to be accommodation, and I think this is one where we really have to insist. No different than Oceans 25, where we had a lot of people coming saying we need buffers and we need walls, and we made that happen. I think we need to make sure that we insist that the church and the home have enough buffer so that there is privacy between the two. There has to be some privacy. I mean, I agree with Councilman Plettis. I do feel for the couples that came up here. I certainly wouldn't want to live next to it without having any privacy. I think I would like to have a separation, no pun intended, between church and state. So I would ask that we insist upon that as a council.
I just want to say it's not a church.
I understand. I'm using it, but again, if I was...
No, we're not doing, I mean, that's out of line. You don't talk from the audience, thank you anyway.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you. Councilman, Vice Mayor?
Yes, I agree. I think that a buffer would be desirable. I am comforted by the fact that 9 residents immediately surrounding there have no objections to it. And I am comforted by the fact that we have had no disruptions or calls for any problems at that property, as confirmed by Captain Fowler. So if we can solve the problem of a buffer, I think that is about as good as we can do.
And Stuart, I think we talked about that before, and that cannot be forced upon them, but my understanding was that they are more than willing to put that up. And I think that was the very first suggestion I said to you, and I think we're seeing right now that they're more than willing to do something like that.
Yes, and the attorney, I believe, just mentioned that that's something that they're willing to do as well.
Okay, thank you. And Councilman Bryan, do you have one more?
Do you have some idea of what the buffer should be?
Probably something 6 feet high. That's probably standard. I mean, it could obviously go higher, but it should traverse the entire length of the property, not only where there's open area, but also in between the actual buildings themselves, if available or if possible.
Thank you. And so, Attorney Voss, couldn't we add the motion for this? Can we add that depending on that buffer being there? How would we do that? I know it's not required. I've been told it's not required, but they've offered to do it. So how do we go about it?
Since they did offer, you can take them up on that offer, and that it will be, you might change the effective date of the ordinance to be when they've installed the buffer.
Okay, so would we postpone this?
You could actually pass it now with an effective date as of the date they install the
A TBD date?
To be determined, yes.
All right. Okay, so can I have a motion?
I move that we approve based on that.
The only challenge, though, Madam Mayor, council members, is there might be a challenge to get a 6-foot buffer planted immediately.
Okay, so so you're saying maybe a 4 growing into a 6, a faster growing?
Yes,
Okay.
or maybe even 3, because typically they don't come that way. I mean, it would take years, probably 2 years or more to actually get that buffer.
I think we have an engineer here that would like to.
I do these all the time. A fence, is that an acceptable option? We don't know what it's going to be for sure. I mean, podocarpus is a plant that grows, makes a thick hedge, but I have them in my yard, they still die. It's difficult to find a plant that's going to make a hedge that's suitable. Easy to do a fence. We did it when we did the fellowship hall on Peninsula between the residents next door. That was new construction, so that was a requirement there. So typically, the difference between residential and it's not a residential use, commercial use, if you will, there is a buffer of some type. So we have options. I would say a vinyl fence, 6 feet is what the usual building permit is, and then 4 in the front yard for visibility. So I'd like to have at least that option or some planting. As Stuart said, getting it in is the issue, but we would agree to provide a buffer. So if you put that It's in the site plans rezoning, so I don't know how that works. But
So you're saying instead of foliage, saying a 6-foot vinyl fence?
Or shadow or whatever meets code for fencing between the two.
I'm sorry, Stuart, I didn't hear what.
Something opaque.
Okay,
Not a picket fence.
okay, all right.
So,
Yes.
so I
Not a
would,
chain link fence either.
Councilman Frizzlin has the floor.
so first off, I applaud the fact that you just came up here and did that. I think that is, it's a very classy gesture on your
Well, we're
part.
beating
It's-
around the bush, you might
Well,
as
it's
well
very,
say
it's very sincere on your part, so I thank you for that. Again, I think the young lady who spoke so eloquently about her children and a little bit of feel with that, I think a fence would be the best way to go. Therefore, a young child cannot wander off and, you know, I mean, you know as well as I do, you take them to a playground and you look up and down. So I think having a fence there is going to make everyone feel much more comfortable. That's my opinion.
I like the fence too.
All right, so we are going to pass this with a TBD, or a motion for TBD date and look into the foliage, but probably the vinyl fence.
Yes.
Okay, and they will work with Stuart on that. Okay, thank you. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All right, Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Councilman Bryan?
Yes.
Councilman Frizzlo?
Yes.
Councilman Platus?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindell?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next we're going to go on to council comments. So I had a couple of comments this evening. One of them is Councilman Politis. I guess someone reached out to you for the Teacher of the Year, again for Longstreet School. So I was able to attend that recognition along with our Assistant City Manager, soon-to-be City Manager. It was delightful. Captain Fowler, there was about, I think, 6 or 7 of your vehicles there with the sirens, and the kids loved it. So thank you very much for doing that. So it was a very, very nice, so we were honored to be there. Thank you. The next thing is, on February 12th, we're going to have a casino night here, and we love being in the Shores because this beautiful community center we have, the activities that our recreation director plans. So it's going to be a really, really fun event. It's going to be a 60s outfit because the mayor bought her outfit 2 years ago. And we weren't able to have the 60s on 60, so it's going to be a 60s themed casino night. So please support our Shores and tell your neighbors. Really, really fun evening, so mark that on your calendar for February 12th. And a reminder that we will not have a city council meeting on February 8th. Myself and Nancy Maddox and Kurt will be in Tallahassee with our legislators. And speaking of that, Councilman Bryan, I know there was something today on the smoking, that bill, House Bill 105, so I did, I'm sure you did too. I reached out personally to every single one on the committee, urging them to pass that. So I hope that goes through. And there will not be coffee of the mayor on February 9th. So for you, those of you, we'll have it on March, whatever the second Wednesday is, March. And the next thing that I want to bring up, and this is just something I want us to think about and talk about at the next meeting. So we got official notification that Bank of America is officially on the market now. So that, you know, I know that discussion didn't go over well, but I want to think about it again because we're hearing some of the businesses that might want to purchase that property, and it's really, it's nothing that I would really want in that location. So the only way that we can guarantee that something goes in there, because once they buy that, that's a done deal, is for us to add that to our portfolio, whether we reach out to Halifax that showed an interest at one time in maybe putting offices in there, if we resell it, whatever we do with it. So I just want you to think about it, and then at our next meeting, when was it going to go up officially, Kurt?
I believe March 20th is the
March
date.
20th. So by the next meeting, you know, I'd like to have a little bit more of a discussion on that. Again, remember, if we don't take it over, then we have no say-so, just as long as it's zoned for that, what does go in there. Okay, that's all I have. Councilman Bryan, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I would suggest somebody reach out to Halifax and ask them Are you guys going to do something soon, or?
I think our city manager has done that. Did Bill call you back?
He did not. I'm gonna get up, well,
Right, yeah.
he will call me back. He's just.
Yeah, we kind of, is it that we purchase it and then lease it to them? At one time, they showed an interest in offices. Is it that they purchase it and kind of have a reciprocal agreement for us, for the parking? Is there something we can put there? But thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, more specifically about the smoking bill. It passed this morning 17-1, and I also wrote all 18 members yesterday. I'm not saying that's why it passed, but it did pass.
Because I did.
Huh?
It was because I wrote all 18 members.
So that's one committee in the House. It's already passed through one committee in the Senate. So the Senate still has 2 more committees in the House. But there's so many co-sponsors this year. If I had to bet on it, I would bet it makes it to the finish line.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Yes, I love my city and I love working with this team and the city staff and all of the people in the city. So as a result, I just want to let everyone know that I fought for re-election.
Councilman Frizzlin?
Yeah, the Bank of America building, I listened to what you said, Madam Mayor, and it's crowded in that area. There is overflow of parking. At our events, you can't find a place to park. You have public traffic over there. I'm surprised at how crowded our city's getting. In the words of some of my friends, the Californians and other places in New Yorkers, they have found us. And because they listen, God bless, that's what makes our city great. Obviously, they're endorsing us. But to that end, it is getting more crowded. And I think to buy that property and put it in our portfolio, I think, Madam Mayor, is an excellent suggestion on your part. I also, to Mel's point, I am just delighted with the council, the mayor's leadership, the vice mayor, and as well as my fellow council members, Politis and Bryant, and I too filed for re-election. I would not have done so except for the 4 people on this dais, which I'm very, very proud to work with. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Okay, great, thank you. So do I have any, I don't have any audience or public comment. Is there anyone that wants to, that didn't sign up that would like to speak? Okay, if not, we're going to go to items recommended for the next agenda. So that actually is February 1st when we're going to have the follow-up on the Treasure Island. So that, as Sherry said, that evening would be exclusive for Treasure Island. We don't really want to add anything else to that. So if it's an item, it's for that second week in February. Is that correct? Okay, thank you. So again, what I'd like to put on is more of a formal discussion on this Bank of America. That's the agenda item that I would like to add on. Is there anybody else that has anything?
This is for which agenda?
So this would be the 2nd February. We're not meeting on the 8th, so
Okay.
Whatever I think.
22nd, yeah.
22nd, yes. Okay, if no other items, then thank you all very, very much for coming. I appreciate you being here, and everyone that's listening online, thank you very much. Meeting's adjourned.